edition of Global Voices of Accessible Travel. I'm your host, Laurent, the co-founder of Tapus Travel. We are an accessible travel company based in the San Francisco Bay Area of California. Well, it is mid-July 2020, and for this edition, we are going back to the Netherlands. But this time, instead of talking about outgoing travel for Dutch travelers, we are going to explore the situation for incoming travel to the Netherlands. To that end, we are reconnecting with our colleague Veroniek Matt in Rotterdam. Veroniek is the founder and manager of Accessible Travel Netherlands, by all account, one of the most successful and respected inclusive travel companies in the country. Not only does it offer trips and tours to all the most beautiful and interesting destinations around the country, it has also developed over the years dozens of accessible activities and visits. Food tours, guided walking tours, and museum visits, and of course, some quintessential Dutch activities such as cruises on the canals and rivers and adapted bicycle tours. Truly something for everyone. Veronique is also the forefront of promoting accessible travel in Europe through strong relationships with like-minded companies, contributing articles to numerous publications, organizing events, and most importantly, taking an active part in the ENAT organization. Now, don't worry if you didn't get all that. There will be a slide at the end with all the information. So, without further ado, let's meet Veronique.
Hello, Veronique. It's so good to see you. How are you?
Hi, it's good to see you too.
So you're in Holland, in the Netherlands, I should say. You are in Rotterdam, right? Am I correct?
Yes, yeah, I live and work in Rotterdam. Yeah, it's
Excellent.
the second biggest city in the Netherlands.
Wonderful. Well, why don't you go ahead and maybe for people that don't know you yet, how about you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about where you are and what you're doing nowadays?
Okay, I'm a founder of Accessible Travel Netherlands, and I started this company in 2010, and it's mainly to help people from all over the world to visit the Netherlands, and specifically people with a large variety of abilities, and to help them realize their wish to visit this country. What we do to realize that is we help find suitable accommodation and organize the transport, airport transfers, but also to other destinations in the Netherlands and Belgium. And we provide tours, like accessible shore excursions for people who are on a cruise, but also just city tours in Amsterdam, but also in other cities in the Netherlands. And we organize mobility equipment hire, so people can stay at hotels where they might not have all the equipment in place, but then we deliver it for them. And we can also organize care assistance in hotels. So they don't, we can organize someone from the Netherlands to visit them in the hotel every day. And besides the Netherlands, we also do a lot of cross-country travel. So combining the Netherlands with Belgium or Germany, or even France or UK or Spain, just wherever the people like to go.
That's wonderful. And that's mainly, this cross-country travel is mainly for your Dutch population, or are you also accommodating people coming from overseas?
No, mostly we accommodate people from overseas. So the majority of people who come to us for their travel arrangements are people from the US and Canada, the UK, but also from Australia, New Zealand, Barbados, wherever. So mostly inbound tourism. Yeah.
Wonderful. We live in a very strange time. Very uncertain and very. It's a new situation for all of us in the travel industry. Accessible travel experts that we're in a situation that we've never encountered before. In a nutshell, what is the situation in the Netherlands in respect to the pandemic, and how, is Netherlands back in business? Are you open for business, for tourism? What's the situation?
Well, the situation is quite good at the moment. There are not so many people who are infected anymore, and the number of people who are infected on a daily basis is very, very small. So that's very positive, and the rules have been, like the majority of very strict lockdown rules have been lifted. So we are free. Well, we are almost free to go wherever we want. So that's very nice. We can, yeah, most businesses are open again, like restaurants, museums, shops. Like they are all open. Only clubs and clubs are not allowed to let people in yet, and events are only allowed to organize, or venues are allowed to organize things for people up to 250 people. If it's outside, and if it's inside, it's only 100 people. So those rules are still quite strict. But yeah, it's getting better. Yes.
But it's certainly it sounds like you're in a better positions than other places in the world, other countries. So you have reopened, but I would imagine that most of the regulation that people are now used to, like social distancing, wearing masks in public, and so forth. This is something that is enforced in Holland.
Yeah, still enforced, yes. So if you go with the public transport, you still have to wear the mask, and if you go outside, you are advised to keep the distance of 1.5 meters. Also, if you go inside a restaurant, all the tables will be separated like 1.5 meters. And if you're not going to a restaurant with someone you live with, you also have to keep the distance. So yeah, you still have to keep it in mind, really. And but now it's sometimes it's a bit confusing, just because some people are taking it very easily and just want to give you a hug, and other people are still more strict and be more careful, of course.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's a bit complicated socially. Yeah.
It's funny you should mention giving hugs. We had an interview with Stefano from Roman Italy Group not too long ago, and at the end of the interview he said something that it cracked me up about saying come to Italy, and instead of mentioning come to Italy to go to the Colosseum or to go to pizza or go to Venice, come to Italy so you can hug people. Because that's the Italian way, and it's funny. Yeah. And I gotta tell you, this is something that I know from among my friends and among many of our guests that are so used to the physical aspect even of traveling or meeting people. That's an element that is missing. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna. You said a couple of things that I wanna catch on. So you talked about the overall the life right now in Holland, which seems to seems like it's getting back to normal, but the big tourism attractions of the Netherlands, the museums, the cruises on the river, all those elements that are so attractive for people coming from outside. How do you handle that? Can you just walk into a museum today without any restriction of people in a museum? How does that work?
No, the museums are not allowed to let the maximum amount of people in. So they have restrictions, and those restrictions are based on the amount of square meters. Like the bigger the museum, the more people can enter. And everyone who wants to go has to buy a ticket online in advance. And often you also have to reserve a time slot. That was already the case for some museums, but now it's for more museums, and the same is applicable for theme parks and for zoos and sometimes farms. So yeah, it's not the same yet. You really have to reserve in advance, and especially for a museum like the Van Gogh or the Rijksmuseum, very popular. It's advised to reserve in advance.
That's interesting, because again, this is kind of a feedback that we're starting to see across the board, where some people are saying, it's actually pretty nice that we can go into a place that used to be, crowded with
Yeah, that's true.
thousands of people, and now because of the social distancing, because of
Yeah,
the restrictions, it's actually more enjoyable to visit
it is.
inside the country. So you're also getting similar feedback in the Netherlands.
Yes, yes, and I notice it myself as well that it's more, yeah, it's just more comfortable to visit a place when it's not so crowded, and especially places like the popular museums in Amsterdam. It's just it's a better experience actually. Yeah.
Of course, and I wonder this is something that is going to stay with us even after,
Yeah.
we are looking optimistically a year from now, when we talk again in a year from now, when we are past the pandemic and past the COVID-19, and we have a cure, we have a vaccine. I wonder if people are going to be ready to go back to, being squeezed with another
Yeah.
thousand people just to go to a place. I wonder if this is going to change the way that people are going to
Yeah. I
travel
think
and
that
enjoy.
it, yeah, of course. I think it depends on the destination and the popularity of the place they want to visit, and I do hope it will help spread customers,
Of
help
course.
spread tourists across the country, because in the Netherlands it's very focused on some tourist hotspots, and it would be nice. And there was already the goal to spread the tourists, but it's so difficult, and I hope this might help.
Absolutely.
So
You,
since we deserve it, also get more visitors. Yeah.
you mentioned earlier that, of course, your company, you operate regionally, with all the countries that are bordering with the Netherlands, but also beyond that. Um, can you talk about today when you look at the situation in different countries? How do you select the countries that you're going to feel more comfortable from a safety standpoint, from the accessibility standpoint, to offer the destination to your guests?
Well, firstly, we look at the just the status of the country with regards to the pandemic. Like, are there still many new people people infected? Um, yeah, what are the numbers, and if are they open? Have they opened the borders? Yes or no? Um, and we also look at how easy it is to cross the border, and if it's a question of quarantine, yes or no. Um, because, for example, it's quite easy to travel to Belgium and to
Hmm.
Germany, and I know people who are traveling to Austria and Switzerland, and and those countries all have the green codes, which means that it's free to travel there without having to go in quarantine. But for the Netherlands itself is open to many countries, but not to all countries without the obligation to go in quarantine. So, for example, for people from the UK and Sweden, it's still obliged when they arrive here to go 2 weeks in quarantine.
And then the quarantine is about 14 days, correct? That's
Yeah,
the amount of time between,
yeah,
getting infected and having the symptoms. So, you know, it must, for tourism, it must be just disastrous. I mean, if you only have 2 or 3 weeks of vacation and you go
yeah.
to a country and you spend the first 14 days in a hotel, that is not a very realistic
No, exactly,
situation.
no.
No.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
you
true.
know, S- Of course, without getting into politics, here in the U.S. right now, we can't travel anywhere. We're not welcome in just about any country. Europe, we're not on the list of countries that Europe has open to. Hopefully that will change, but I want to tell you that this has a huge impact on what we do here. And certainly it has a huge impact even on the psychology of travel for our guests. And it leads me to the next topic I would like to ask you. And the situation here in the U.S. and we actually also saw that in a conversation we had very early with our colleague in Australia, because of the situation, because the the travel bans that we have. Of course, it's a summer now. People are kind of in vacation. More and more domestic travel.
Yeah.
Not just domestic travel, but more and more kind of a self-contained travel. People are staying away from group travel. They're looking to travel with friends and families. Again, it goes back to the safety issue, people that you are comfortable with, people that, you created that bubble of people that are not infected. So we see that a lot. A lot of what we do right now is actually to accommodate smaller groups or friends or families, and most of it, of course, is domestic travel within the U.S. And a lot of that is also kind of a self-contained in a way that they are going to maybe rent a couple of cars, maybe an accessible van, and then the itineraries within the U.S. And feedback that we got from people overseas that yes, they're starting to see that also. Are you experiencing something like that in your region?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's the popularity of camping has really hit off. So many people in the Netherlands who normally go on a sun-sea holiday with a family, they now stay in the Netherlands and they go camping on one of the many camping sites, or they book a small holiday cottage. And also renting camper vans has become very popular. It wasn't so popular within the Netherlands itself to rent a van and to drive around the country. It's also very small, so you can go from the north to the south in one day, actually, in 4 hours. But there are so many nice places to visit which you normally won't go that it's definitely worth renting a van. And so, yeah, camping has become much more popular, and also just taking your tent or your camper van or caravan to Belgium or Germany or France. Yeah, so many people are very happy that they can now go to these countries more easily. So the borders are open. It's just now it's at your own risk. So if you were in a country and the country decides to go on lockdown, the Dutch government is not gonna assist, which we did. So, but anyway, thinking positively, it's easier to travel to other countries nearby.
I love the idea of the camper van. I mean, personally, again, this is something that we see here. That's something that was actually very popular here in the U.S. for our incoming from Europe.
Oh yeah.
More like road trips. When we would rent an accessible van, accessible vehicle. So it's interesting that this is something that is also now getting traction in Europe. This is something that you do in your company. Are you able to organize road trip with camper vans for your guests?
Well, most of the clients will come to us. They are, for example, from Germany or Belgium at the moment, because it's easy to travel to the Netherlands. And they mostly ask for holiday cottages or at camping sites or renting a vehicle. Yes, renting a van. I have to take a break. I have to drink something.
Sure, no problem.
Oh. Okay. What was I saying?
We're talking about camper vans, people coming from Germany.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So most of the people who visit the Netherlands right now, they are from Germany and Belgium. And they want to rent a holiday house at a camping site or along the beach, or they want to rent a camper van. Most of the clients who contact us, they are looking for accessible places, so accessible holiday houses, but also accessible vans. And that's something that it's actually quite difficult because there are not so many accessible vans to rent in the Netherlands, just few. So that's really something that where there's a big gap in the market.
That is
take their own accommodations. So they would take the caravan on the back,
Trailer,
or
a trailer,
yeah,
yeah.
or
Uh,
take their own camper van, and they just park it anywhere. So we do get a lot of questions too for renting mobility equipment at the moment.
Excellent. Again, looking forward to the future, I think this is something that is going to stay and grow. That's my own personal professional assessment of a trend that we see that I think is going to keep on growing. But you did say that it's not easy to rent an accessible minivan, for example, in the Netherlands. Not many of them.
No, there are not so many of them, and the ones that do exist, or they are owned by foundations who have built them or rebuilt them
Mm-hmm.
to be accessible, and they are also rented a lot by Dutch people themselves. So the availability for foreign guests is not so big.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Um, let's talk a little bit about cruises, if you will. Both, I'm looking at the big cruises that are coming with those enormous vessels to port, but also the very popular activity of river cruises in the Netherlands. Can you give me a sense of the situation with that?
Um, well, I haven't been receiving so many requests for those lately. So I don't know the very details of them right now. I do know the details of the cruises that we do offer all the time, which are accessible river cruises, which is very specific. And there's just 2 cruise ships in the Netherlands and Germany altogether who offer 2 cruise companies who offer those accessible river cruises. And the one that's based in the Netherlands, they have cancelled their cruises for this year. Yeah, because there would be too many people on board.
Of course.
Health-wise. So they were, forced to cancel them, which is which is a pity. And the ones in Germany, I know they are sailing again from the end of July, and we did have bookings for those cruises these months, and also in September and October. But I've noticed that even though the cruise companies have said, okay, we are not going to cancel these, the people are still quite hesitant on
Of
going
course.
their bookings because, it's just a risk, and people are from outside of the Netherlands and Germany. They're traveling here, so it's quite a risk for them to go on this cruise.
Sure. No, of course.
They've
I
got
mean,
this possible.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the cruises industry obviously has suffered and is suffering, and
Yeah.
here in the U.S., the biggest cruise lines, the Caribbean, Princess, and so forth, they cancel. Some of them say, okay, we're going to reopen in August, and then, well, maybe September, and then the season is over, and then looking at next year. It's going to be difficult, and the attraction of cruises for people with disabilities, for wheelchair users, people with mobility limitation, was enormous because it's a comfortable, it's a way of seeing the world, of experiencing different experiences. So it's a shame because that's a big segment of things that people could do in a fairly comfortable, easy manner, and it's basically right now gone.
It was becoming very popular, and also it's very safe. It's a very safe way to see nice places in Europe, which you would normally not see. And it's very comfortable because you don't have to move around all the time. You can just settle in your cabin and enjoy the cruise. Yeah.
Of course. On a related subject about the comfort and ease of travel, flying for a person in a wheelchair or person with mobility limitation, that was never an enjoyable experience. And now, of course, with even more restrictions and distancing and safety and cleaning of airplanes, I wonder if traveling by train in Europe is becoming more popular or something, a good alternative instead of taking a plane.
Yes, it is actually a good alternative. It's not especially from the Netherlands, because we have very good connections. Like right now, at this moment, it's still not advised to travel by train without like a good purpose. But before, and I think in the near future, will become a very good option again. And it's actually very easy to travel by train from Amsterdam, for example, to other cities in Europe, for example, to Belgium, to Brussels, or to Antwerp, to London. There is a direct connection right now, which is very fast, just 4 hours. There's a very good connection to Frankfurt in Germany, to Berlin. It's even easy to travel to Prague and to Paris, of course. So there's some very good connections that make it very easy to travel. And you can just settle on your seat or on your place in the train and just go. And you also have some very good surroundings.
Sure.
So I always recommend people who travel to the Netherlands and want to visit other places to take the train.
Most of the destinations you mentioned are Northern Europe, or Central Northern Europe. Are you also from Amsterdam? Can you travel by train to Southern Europe, to Italy, to Spain, to Portugal?
Yes, you can. It's possible. But like traveling to Paris and to other destinations in France, that's still quite easy. And to Switzerland and Austria, it is too. But going all the way to Italy or Spain from the Netherlands, it's possible, but it takes a long time and there's a lot of transfers. So with regards to accessibility, it's tricky. It's not that easy. But it is possible. But like just traveling in Spain by train, that's very good. And the same is for Italy. It's very good. And I think going from Italy to Spain, that's also a good connection. It's just that like Northern Europe and Southern Europe, the connection there is not ideal yet, but I think they are investing to improve that.
Great. Yeah, no, I maybe a couple of years ago, we traveled from Switzerland. I'm sorry, from Italy to Switzerland on a train, on an Italian train. That was just absolutely wonderful and extremely comfortable. And just almost as a joke, we always talk about the Swiss precision and the Swiss timeliness. The train was delayed by 3 minutes. Just 3 minutes from Italy to Switzerland. And when we crossed the border into Switzerland, the conductor or the Swiss person came on the voice and say, "Okay, we're really sorry. We really apologize so much. We really apologize. We're going to be 3 minutes late." And it's not our fault. It's because our Roman, our Italian colleagues just missed something. And it was so funny, 3 minutes on a train, as opposed to delay. Sometimes you have to sit in an airplane for half an hour before takeoff. So I will take the train any day instead of the plane. Veronique, we're almost coming to the half hour that I promised not to go too much over. What would you like to say to people that are watching us in terms of, reopening for business in your region? What will be your message today?
I would say just don't stop dreaming. It's still possible, and it's I think from September on it will be much easier to travel to the Netherlands, but also to the other countries in Europe. And it's very easy to go from one place to another. For example, from the Netherlands to Belgium or to Germany. It's very quick. And, all the accessibility of accommodations, tours, it's still in place. It's still there, so it's not lost. It might even be improved. So yes, just feel free to send all your questions and we'll have a look at them and help you just realize that wish to visit Europe. Yeah.
Wonderful. It's always great to finish on a positive note, and thank you for that. I think you're right. I think we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, as we say. There is a cure in the horizon. There is a treatment. There is a vaccine. So I think it's only a matter of time before people feel confident that it's safe to travel again. If it's okay with you, I'll take the liberty to keep on reconnecting with you. Maybe we can have another conversation towards the end of the summer or going into the fall, and maybe hopefully the situation will have improved tremendously for this population in the US, in Canada, wanted to travel overseas. So hopefully we'll have a happy conversation at the time. But again,
Okay.
thank you so much. It was a pleasure seeing you again. And until next time, then, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.